So today I'm gonna go ahead and install some more shade cloth on my Nepenthes lowland greenhouse, and figured I'd just go ahead and show you the process of how I do it. So I have received a couple of different types of shade cloth here, and we'll see one is a 30% and one is a 40%. So I think what I'm going to do to cut down on the amount of light I'm getting is I'm going to go ahead and try the 30% first, and I'm going to see if that's going to go ahead and help to alleviate some of the yellowing and some of the light stress that's taking place right now. So let's see how this goes.
Since this is an existing Nepenthes greenhouse, it already has 50% shade cloth that's attached to the interior aluminum framing. Now what I want to do is I want to attach an additional layer of that 30% shade cloth on top of the existing 50% shade cloth. Here's a comparison of the new 30% material versus the pre-existing 50% material. By combining the 30 and the 50%, this should create the additional needed shade. I'm going to use small self-tapping screws with washers to attach the shade cloth to the frame. Pre-drilling the holes for the screws in the aluminum frame makes the install much easier. Here's how the current 50% shade cloth is installed in the greenhouse using the same technique. The 30% shade cloth will be installed right over the pre-existing 50%. I'm going to start by pre-drilling my holes for the screws along the back wall. I quickly came to realize that installing the shade cloth while the plants were in place was just not a good idea. The chances of growing tips becoming entangled and stems breaking was just too great as the shade cloth kept getting snagged. I had no choice but to empty that side of the greenhouse. Moving the plants is difficult as they've all been growing in place for months. Pitchers and leaves have become entangled and they have to be worked apart one by one. It's a slow and tedious process.
Alright, so what I decided not to include you in is all of the emptying of the greenhouse. I had to carry all of my staked Nepenthes that are in the larger pots sitting on the floor of the greenhouse into my lanai to give them some protection just outside here. I don't have a good spot right now to just put them. It's about 92.7 degrees, so about 93 degrees in here right now. And the sun is pretty strong even with the current 50% shade cloth. Just here in South Florida, the sun is just too strong. So I'm going to go ahead and add this 30% back onto essentially just the top part where the sun kind of comes in from that kind of 11 o'clock position, 11:30, all the way till about 3 o'clock or so. It'll give it that extra protection that I think it needs. So we'll see how it turns out. If it seems a little bit too dark, I'm just going to go ahead and move all the plants outside. And just build a shade structure outside for them and let summer take care of them. So we'll see how it goes here.
I'm going to start by attaching the shade cloth in each corner of the back wall. Once I've attached it to the back wall, I'm going to attach it to each of the upper corners. I'm going to pre-drill all of the holes. It turns out that there's a couple of things that I didn't foresee, such as having to take my fan down and remount that, as well as the LED light, but those are easily worked around. From here, it's time to attach both of the sides. At this point, I could tell that the light levels would be a lot more acceptable for all of the more delicate seedlings and young plants that I have. From here, all I had left to do was to attach the shade cloth at the peak and the crossbars. Here's the finished project with the shade cloth installed. This should help to create the additional shade that I was hoping for. Looks just about right. Now it's time to move the plants back in. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and happy growing.